Okay, so Jack.
Yes.
Welcome.
Welcome.
So you just asked me what we're going to do here.
Yep.
I'm going to start by telling you kind of the overview. I was just saying that I want to capture your whole story because I know bits and pieces along the way, and I've known of you, and I know you pretty well now, but I don't know all the infill.
Yep.
And your story's gnarly, and it's radical, and it's super impressive, and it's heavy. And
scary.
And yeah. And we will get into that. It's super scary. So first and foremost, Jack Shimko, thank you so much for being here. This is my passion project. I get to just talk to cool people doing super cool stuff and get the story. So thanks for being
so
part of it.
cool.
I'm super stoked. So thank you for being
Love
here.
you.
Likewise. So I'm going to jump right into, we just connected 5 minutes ago in the parking lot, and you said it's been a pretty tough day. And I asked you, is there anything you don't want to talk about? You're like, no, I have cancer.
Yeah, like gnarly cancer.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about that because that is a big part of your story, but it's far from the only part of your story. Your story, what you've done, how you've done it, and for how long is super impressive and super heavy and super inspiring. And the fact that you're doing so much good stuff for good people that are going through similar things as you are is incredible. So thank you for taking the time and telling the story. But let's start with today.
Okay.
You said it was a tough day, but you also told me something really cool that happened today.
Yeah, well, it took everything in my body to get here. And, yeah, my name's Jack Marshall Shimko, and I have cancer, and it fucking sucks.
Yeah.
And it's gnarly.
Yeah.
And,
You were interviewed today, though. You want to tell us about that?
yeah. So, I have my doctors from like 10 years ago that I trust.
UCLA, if I recall.
And they told me that I'm going to die.
Do it.
It's not fun.
No, it's not fun. And I really don't have any words, and here we are sitting trying to have a talk.
Yeah.
Are you okay? Do you want to talk?
Yeah. So, what I still have is fight. And I will fucking fight as hard as I don't know if I can.
Oh, of course. This is your story, bud. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah, I can fight.
Yeah, you're good at it. You've had to do a lot of it.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm just being beaten down. Like just.
Yeah.
And it sucks.
Can imagine. Yeah.
But, you know what helps me? Nature.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to ask. So
Yeah.
I do want to ask you about that interview, but you sent me a text this weekend.
Yep.
Tell me about the context of that text, because that's a big one.
Which one?
What was the first thing you did in a year?
In this year?
What was the first thing it was the first time you'd done it in a year, and you did it on
I surfed.
Saturday. Yeah. How'd that feel?
Amazing. I was on a shitty soft top vessel, Mike Roberts.
Hold on, Mikey. We love you and we love your boards. Sorry.
Mikey. Yeah, soft top, shitty $200 board.
Did it get the job done?
I ran it straight into the rocks.
You were up in Gaviota.
Yep.
And
So I've been doing a lot of work up there. So our family bought some property up there, and we're just like trying to protect it.
Got it.
And it's difficult because there's developers, like everyone's developing.
I can only
everything.
imagine that's such a beautiful area, and I can only imagine how. Well, let's keep to our topic, which is your story.
Right.
And
Yep.
you got to first surf. So surfing's a big deal for you. Let's pull this mic into you a little closer.
Okay.
There we go. There we go.
Oh, look
Product
at that.
placement. There we go. We're all good. Okay. See,
I know, he's dialed.
no, this is what we do. So, just how did it feel to surf? I mean, and we will get a lot into your waterman life and how important that is, but how did it feel to surf for the first time in a year?
Like the best thing that I've ever felt in my life.
Yeah.
And it was insane. Like, it was 2 foot, right? And it was like 50 knots of wind out there on the outside. And I'm like, I dropped in and it was 100-yard long right. And I'm just like, I'm a kook.
We all are.
You know, I'm just, whoa. And I was just, I don't know, it was just so cool. And for me, it meant so much to me. Like, just to be able to do it and like be in the middle of cancer and like just like go for it. And like that's kind of the drive that I want to share with other people.
Well,
like, just go for it.
and you're doing that. And we will talk a lot about We Are Ocean and your campaign and what you're doing and what you're providing to others and why.
Yeah.
I think a lot of this is about, you said it, the drive. Like, a lot of what you do is, and it has been for as long as I've known of you. Before I knew you, you were doing a really big thing, and you've done a lot of big things since. We'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah.
But that is your way, and what you're providing to others is to try to give them that same feeling that you had on that wave on Saturday, right?
I mean, like, honestly, like, I'm just like trying to get people out of the cancer ward and into adventure. That's all.
Yeah.
Like, it's so simple.
Yeah.
But like, it's also like so difficult because, you know, it's so expensive and like,
Well, and I'm guessing a lot of people, when they're going through what you're going through, curl up in a ball, where you take a very different approach and you go do hard things.
Yeah.
And you try to bring other people along with you, and you see the value of it. I think I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, but that is how I know Jack Shimko, is from doing that.
Yeah.
Starting with Paddle to Live, and
Yeah.
we'll talk a lot about that, because that's when I found out about you and your story, and that's now been a dozen or so years.
Well, it's interesting. Like, so like Paddle to Live, so I did, like, I was not a paddler.
I know. I'm going to press pause because I want to get to that. But before that, it's not the elephant in the room. You already dropped the elephant in the room about your prognosis from your doctors, which is gnarly. But let's share the story of how your voice got this way.
Okay. So 2009, I went to this fucking doctor. Sorry. I hate.
Don't apologize for
Yeah.
that.
So I went to this doctor. He was like a primary care doctor. And he did like blood labs, right? And he's like, Jack, there's like this elevated number on your labs, and we have to do a chest scan. And I'm like, okay, whatever, easy. Do you know Chad Towersy?
Sure.
Okay. So we were about to go to Selena Cruz when it was unknown. Like, now it's like a gigantic,
sure.
you know.
Selena Cruz, grinding, beautiful right-hand spot in Mexico that's incredible when it's on.
Yeah. So Chad and I, we were going there. So I went to get like just labs, and my doctor was like, you need a chest x-ray. And so then I got the chest x-ray, and he goes, there's a shadow.
Were you having symptoms or anything, or was this just a checkup?
Just dry cough. That's all.
That's it?
Yep.
That wouldn't go away, I assume.
Yeah. So got the freaking scan. So, shadow. And then they're like, okay, you got to get a nuclear PET scan. And I'm like, why? It's like, because we think you have a tumor. And I'm like, okay, whatever. Went in there, and then, of course, it comes back 4 days later, right before my birthday. 29. And, yeah, I was in chemo 4 days after. And, gnarly blood cancer, stage 3B, lymphoma.
Yeah.
Just like out of the blue.
And I imagine you were feeling pretty indestructible at 29 or
Oh
20 and ready to go surf. And
I was like fit. Like gnarly fit.
yeah.
And I'm not anymore, but
They did a procedure and jacked up your vocal cord. Is that correct?
so I really don't like to share this, but
You don't have to.
I'll be open about it. This nightmare doctor, I was at Cedars, and this doctor comes in, and he's flying in from Texas, and he's just like, he was on a date. Okay. He comes in, and it's like a routine procedure. It's a lymph node biopsy right here.
Yep.
And he missed.
It was just a routine biopsy.
Yeah, I cut my left vocal cord and then severed the right one.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. So it's
I assumed it was some pretty gnarly procedure that required very intensive surgical procedure, and it was a little routine
biopsy.
Just a hack? Or just distract? Got it.
He was distracted. And so, like, my family was like, oh, you got to sue this guy. I'm like, listen, I got another battle. I'm not going to take on that right now. And so, maybe I should have.
Well, I just assumed all this time that your voice was a direct result of the cancer and the procedure and not just some innocuous little thing that kind of went awry.
Yeah. So it's pretty funny. It's like, so I lost my voice, but my voice is so big right now in the community.
It hasn't slowed you down, Jack. It has not stopped you from making big moves and big progress. Yeah. Nor is the cancer. I mean, it's done a lot of really, really bad things, and but it's fueled you to do some amazing things that we'll get to.
Well, yeah. I mean, I was in that fucking.
Hey, that word's hard to beat sometimes. Don't apologize for it.
I was in that chemo ward just dreaming of, like, it was the strangest thing ever. So I had just gone to the North Shore, and I paddled that 4th of July race from, what is that, Turtle Bay to Waimea.
Waimea. This is a prone paddleboard race that's been going on for decades and pretty awesome.
And I'm like white, very white, and my good friend Craig Yester, he's just like, we're going to take you to Dead Man's Corner, and you're going to paddle out and paddle back to my house at Pipeline. And I'm like, I've never paddled.
Oh, you had never paddled before?
No.
Oh, okay. So this is part of my further, like, how did you get into paddling?
So
okay. Someone told you you're going to do it.
Yeah. So I'm on a bark. I'm on a 12.
This is pre or post cancer diagnosis?
Pre.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm on a 12-foot stock, CT.
Okay. College tuition.
Yeah. So God, Craig Yester's a fucking.
We love that word.
He's a psycho.
Oh, I don't know Craig.
So he takes me to Dead Man's Corner, and he puts me out there. I'm like paddling, like just off the jet.
But we'll get to this too, but you were competent and confident in the water as a surfer.
Yeah, but
and
like
ocean,
I'd never
but
paddled.
never been. Yeah, which is different. Got it.
So I make it to back door where his house is. And he's like, I can't believe you made it.
Put you through it.
And then so like from that trip, I got home and then I was diagnosed.
So that put a bug in your mind, which will lead into some of the stuff. Okay, that was a big one of my questions. Okay, so prior to that, you grew up here in Newport. We're sitting in the Newport, Costa Mesa area. Did you go to Newport Harbor High School?
I actually got kicked out.
What a shock. Why'd you get kicked out?
Attendance.
Oh, really? What were you doing? Surfing?
Surfing.
Chasing girls?
Yep.
Yeah, rightly so.
And you know what I did? I gave him the Surf Report's phone number as my...
Hold on. 536-9303?
Yes.
That one is burned into my forever. I called that 10 million times as a kid.
So my mom wouldn't know.
That's a blunder when you got caught. Okay, so where did you go to school?
So,
No, let's stop. I'm sorry. Where did you grow up? Where
so
exactly?
on Lido.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, was here.
3 miles from here.
Yep.
Okay. And so
yeah, my family bought a property when like it was like there was nothing there.
got it. Did you go to Newport L?
No, I went to Heights.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Got it, up the hill.
Yeah.
Okay. And then junior high, Ensign?
Ensign.
Okay, my kids went there.
Yep.
And then high school, you started at Harbor,
Failed.
and then where'd you end up?
Boarding school.
Where? Santa Barbara?
Yep.
Which
Done.
one? Got it. I've never been. I've
Los
heard
Olivos.
pretty,
Yeah.
spectacular
Yeah, insane.
Central Coast killer area.
Yeah, and the headmaster has got a freaking place at the ranch.
Oh, okay.
And it's just like, okay.
If you don't surf, you're starting to hear terms that
Yeah.
if you do surf, you're like, oh, I get it now. Hollister Ranch. I've never been there because you can't get in unless you know somebody.
Yeah.
A lot of the places you're talking about are pretty iconic.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. And then
I spent a ton of time up in Halama and Big Sur.
that's Santa Barbara, Central,
Yeah.
lower Northern California area.
Yeah.
Where'd you go? What'd you do after high school or after boarding school? Did you go to college?
Yeah, I went to Lewis and Clark.
I don't know where that is.
In Portland.
That's in Portland.
Yep.
Got it.
And then I graduated on Sunday. And Monday, I got a job at Nike for 10 years.
Oh, see, this is why I love this deal. I didn't know any of that.
Yeah.
And my two oldest kids are both at University of Oregon, which is Nike University. They're both Ducks. And everything is a swoosh up there.
Right.
Okay, we're going to talk about that.
So like,
Let's
that's
talk-
why
yeah.
I'm connected to like Hurley and then Florence.
Got it. Okay.
Is because, Nike bought
Yep.
Hurley.
So through Bob.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. We all love Bob. In my first interview here, I talked about be like Bob. It's always been one of my monikers. I love Bob.
Oh my God.
Everybody loves
Yeah.
Bob. Talk about growing up around here and let's talk about the water,
Okay.
because that's a huge part of your life. Obviously, we talked about your surf this weekend, but let's talk about what got you into it. What was your area of, like, were you fishing, surfing, boogieing, above water, below water, on all of the above? Tell me. Because if you've grown up on Lido, you can do it all. You can sail, you can paddle. Like people, especially 25, 30 years ago, as a kid, that's the perfect spot to grow up.
Yeah.
Around
So
here.
before the water, I was one of the first 3 people to be sponsored by Volcom.
Really?
Yeah.
That's how you know.
Skateboarder.
Oh, as a skateboarder.
Yeah, that's how I know Richard Woodcott and all
Yeah,
that.
I grew up. So I went to Corona Del Mar High School, and I was
Yeah.
in between Pat Tenori of Ruka
Right.
and Wooly and
Yep.
everybody else that I grew up around. And I started my working career at 13 at Surfside as the boogie board rental kid, and I worked surf shops all the way through, and I'm still in retail today. So that's where my story and ours would connect. I'm just older
Right.
than you. But okay, so you have a full skate background.
Yeah, well,
Got
like
it.
I was a skateboarder. Like I would be at, Harbor,
Street skate primarily, like on campus.
360
Yeah.
off the 7 stairs.
Yeah, gotcha. Rad. Okay.
So Wooly saw that and Troy.
Troy
Eckert.
Eckert. Yep.
And they're like, we want you to be a part of this.
Right.
And this is like back in the day, like when there were like the alligator skin
Yeah.
shorts.
Well, and Volcom at the time was Youth Against Establishment. It was
Yeah.
like the spinoff. It wasn't connected, but a spinoff of Quick. It was more core. It was young, and it was skate, and it was punk.
Right.
And that's what we all wanted. We all wanted Quick when I was growing up, and then we all wanted Volcom.
Yeah, I mean, it was me and Dave.
Dave, Mailman? No.
No, Dave from
I'm not sure.
Harbor
I don't know Dave.
Surf School.
Oh, I don't know who that is.
No,
Not sure. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So you were a skater for Volcom.
I was a skater.
Okay. And that took you.
That took me into film.
Okay. I'm going to get to film
Okay.
because you can, if as soon as people start following you or seeing your posts, like you're incredibly skilled there. But I didn't know where that came from. I don't know the genesis
Yeah.
of that, but I'm learning. But talk about skate led you into surf or led you into water sports. How did the ocean become your thing or part of one of your things?
So like Wooly was like, okay, you're skating for us. This is like old school. Like he's still in his garage making clothing.
90s.
90s.
Early half of the 90s.
Yep. And I was like really interested in, like they had this apartment at 56th Street. You know those crappy apartments?
Yeah, we all lived there after college.
Yeah. Okay, so we had this like old school editing bay. Yeah, old school editing bay. And they were shooting Super 8. And I'm like, Troy, like, what is this? He's like, Jack, this is the sickest thing. And then all of a sudden, I created this company called, I can't believe I'm saying this, STD Productions, with Chad Towersey and Logan Doolian.
Got it. Well, Logan's gone on to do big things.
Right, and
He's what, is that Snap that he's part of?
Snap 5 now.
Big in the surf video
Yeah.
world. Chad's still local. He's selling solar. I just saw him the other day. Sissy Bone. His brother Pat, very accomplished in this space. Yeah. So yeah, small
So
town.
yeah, we're neighbors.
Gotcha.
Pat and I were like right
Awesome.
on L Street
Got it.
at the park. So when I figured out that I could create things and give a vision of what my life was about, I was like, this is gold. And I just started filming.
It's super ironic that you started just filming, and because if you go in and look at your history of the cancer,
Right.
you were filming it all.
Everything.
And I was wondering where that came from. So now I get it. But
Yeah.
before we get to that, I still want to hear about how the heck you ended up being a waterman.
Okay. So skateboarding. And then I was like, and Wooly goes, well, do you want to surf for us? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, so it was me, Pat Towersey, Chad, Logan, and Mackay McKenna.
Yeah, I just ran into Mackay the other
Yeah.
day. Okay, so what's crazy is I was on the periphery of all of that. I was never good enough, but I knew like I was surfing around you. So I didn't
Right.
know you. Pat and Chad had bigger personalities and were probably more
Right.
notable, recognizable. But I was right there with you guys. So that's interesting. I had no idea.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't that good.
Good enough, better than me.
So like, I don't know, like so my mom was going through some like super gnarly stuff. Her boyfriend, I can't even get into that. So my uncles kind of like stepped in and were kind of like my dads. And my uncle Phil was like a big surfer. And he would always take me to the contests, like NSSA, and like boom, 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 boom. And like I was winning these things.
Wow.
And
Did I mention that you were a better surfer than me?
So, like, honestly, like, my uncles stepped up for me so big because my dad was kind of like, he was just off. He was not around. And my mom was like cuckoo. And my uncle stepped in and they just like completely, they were just there for me,
Rad.
you know? And I mean, yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Surfing contests.
Yep.
The first time you prone paddled was in Hawaii.
Yep.
Dead man's corner to pipe. You were surprised that you made it. I love that story.
I was surprised I was very white.
But so you were just a skater and became a shortboarder.
Oh, yeah.
That was it. The typical Newport surf path for the majority, especially in the 90s.
Except
Still
for that,
different.
like, except for like, I had a really, like, a gigantic focus on film.
Got it.
So, like,
So film started pre-college.
oh, yeah.
You were a kid when you started with this.
Yeah.
So, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. I mean, I was filming Chad and Logan and
Got it.
Mackay and everybody.
Did you go to college, focus on film?
Yep.
Is that a film school up there,
Yeah.
or they're notable for that?
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what, I was going to get to this later, but I think I'm going to get to now. So you started filming, you're going to film school, and you were diagnosed after college, quite a
Correct.
few years after.
Yep.
So let's talk about school and then on to working for Nike for 10 years, which I had no idea.
Yep. So boarding school was the best thing ever for me. I mean, it was an art school. So like I learned design, I learned Adobe, I learned all these like tools. I learned photography, all this stuff.
And this was the beginning, the 90s,
Yeah.
the beginning of computer-aided design and all of that stuff. I mean, prior to that, it was all pretty analog, and then it started getting very digital.
Right.
Right then.
But I also like really enjoy writing and drawing. And so like I've got like notebooks that are like I've got like
Gotcha.
so many notebooks that are just full of designs. Right? And then I take those designs. Here, I'll show you.
Nope, we're talking.
okay.
We're talking.
So
But I do want to see it later.
I take those designs, like the drawings, because they're just sketches, right? And then I create them into something else. Like that's like Queer Ocean as well. Like Billy goes,
Billy Whitford, Executive Director of Newport Aquatic Center.
he goes, oh, you know, my daughter could draw this logo. I'm like, Billy, first of all, it's not a logo. It's a lockup. And this is a script. I hand drew it. I mean,
It's impressive. That's
So-
good marketing right there.
Billy's hilarious.
Yeah,
Like,
we could talk
Yeah.
for hours.
I
One of
know.
these days, I will get him in that chair, just so you know.
highly doubt that.
But I will.
Okay.
I may have to duct tape him in. Okay, so you ended up. So let me just say, just because it's interesting, I've got an art degree from University of San Diego,
I didn't know that.
but I don't, and I have a marine science degree. I don't use either of them. They weren't for me career-wise.
yeah, but look at your logo.
I know, but this, I didn't create this.
No.
Oh, that one? That's Skip Sneed, who you know very well as well. But here's, just because it's interesting, I was born with an artistic gift,
Right.
not to the highest level, but I was born with the ability to do art.
Right.
But my creativity is so limited, where you're like, got books, and I'm super linear. If you said, hey, Mark, go do your best to draw that in a realistic way. Okay.
Right.
But if you said, hey, go give me like a super abstract version of that sunset, and I'm like, I can't do it. Hey, I need a logo. I can't do it. If somebody tells me, hey, Mark, I need this
Yeah.
in a box, I can do it. I never had that creativity. I've got I've got the vision. I've got really good understanding of it. I just can't. I don't have the creative side.
Right.
And so when I see people with that creative spark and that ability to go, make anything out of nothing. It's a skill, and I don't know if it's a God-given one, but it's an impressive trait that I don't possess.
Well, you know what's in my brain right now? I'm like, that's a 4K camera. I know the lens, it's 20 to 50. Like, my brain is just...
Hey, Cole, he's watching you.
What is that lens?
Okay, we can talk about that later. No nerding out on this stuff, Jack. Okay, so let's talk Nike. In a nutshell, what did Nike give you?
So I graduated on Sunday, and my whole family showed up for the graduation. It was like the biggest thing ever, because my family doesn't get together ever. So they all showed up, and then Monday morning I went to work, and I went to work for Nike SB. Do you know what that is?
Nike SB?
Yeah.
That was the precursor to their buying Hurley, and that was their surf piece.
So it was surf, BMX, and wakeboarding. And I was like, what
you guys are missing the mark for
like,
Southern California surf industry.
You guys are like out here, out of control, like holding on to it. I'm like,
Gotcha.
Okay. So I had an architectural like background, so I knew how to draft.
Gotcha.
Like I knew CAD. And so they're like, okay, Jack, this is like CrossFit. Like, you know how CrossFit got all like big?
Yep.
So they're like, okay, Jack, we want you to design training facilities for our athletes.
Wow.
And so like, that's what I did. And I was like, what are you talking about? I'm like just like a gym? They're like, no, we want it to look like Pennsylvania or New York. And we were buying up all these like gigantic freaking buildings in Portland and building environments inside of them.
The campus.
Yeah.
So you were instrumental, or you were involved in the creation of the Nike campus.
Yep.
Wow. That's something to hang your hat on. That's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the most iconic brands in the history of brands.
Yeah.
It was a good jumping off point. Where did that lead you? What are you thinking about right now?
I mean, it led me to leave.
Tell me more.
So after I was done with Nike, I was just like, I'm getting out of here.
Out of here being out of Nike, or out of here, out of Portland?
Out of Portland.
Got it.
And so I went to Australia for 2 years, and I drove in this...
Holden wagon? That's what I had when I was there.
Excuse my language. Ace high top. Toyota Ace with the engine.
Don't be knocking Ace right now, by the way. You're not allowed to knock that.
So I did everything. I drove around the entire continent.
You did the whole thing.
Yeah.
The transcontinental.
All the way from
Perth.
Darwin, all the way. So then I did another lap, and I got to Darwin, and then I was like, well, it's only 2 hours to Bali from Darwin. I'm like, oh, I need my visa renewed. Because, like, I got this, like, crappy job for Red Bull. And I was just, like, a graphic designer. And they sponsored me. Like, they gave me my visa, my 2-year visa.
So were you doing remote work before remote work was a thing? Were you just doing freelance design? Is that what you're doing?
I was in the office.
Oh, where?
In Sydney.
Oh,
Yeah.
got it. For Red Bull?
Yeah, for Red Bull.
Wow.
I mean, it was a different company, but it was like Red Bull's representatives and like, so I was like, get me out of here, please.
How long were you in Bali or Indo?
I mean, I was in Australia for 2 years, and then I was in Indo for 6 months.
That's so good.
And then,
That's something that everybody should do. I spent 2 months in Australia. I ran a car. I bought a beater Holden wagon, and I drove from Sydney, from Northern Beaches, up to Cairns, surfed in camp the whole. I was traveling by myself with a backpack with my dive gear and 2 surfboards for 6 months, and It went Fiji, New Zealand, Australia, Indo, 2 months in Indo. 2 months.
Same thing.
It was the best thing ever.
How's that South Coast?
It's unbelievable. For so many reasons we can't talk about here.
Oh my
The
gosh.
surf's unbelievable. The people are wonderful. Camping's amazing. Again, it's been a bunch of years since I did it, but it was, best thing I've ever done. I tell my kids they got to travel internationally for sure.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I mean, Bali was awesome. And then I had to fly back for my mom's 50th birthday in Palm Springs. And I'm just like, oh, but first I had to go to Mexico City for my best friend's wedding.
Jet setter.
And I'm just like, what? And I rented a motorcycle.
How long did you ride? Or where'd you ride?
From the airport to the house.
Awesome. Why not? Right?
Man.
Okay.
Okay.
We're
Let's focus.
super truncating this, but pretty amazing story so far. So you get kicked out of Newport Harbor High School. You go to boarding school. Boarding school leads you to go to school, Lewis and Clark. You continue to focus on your creative side. You get a job at Nike. You're 10 years there. Then you blow out and you go to Oz for 2 years.
Yeah,
You work for Red Bull, some kind of small brands you worked for here. Then you piece out up to 6 months in Bali where you didn't work, I suspect, and you surfed your brains out.
No, I was actually working for Quicksilver.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
For Danny Guac.
Got it. What were you doing for Quick? Whatever he told you?
Brands.
Design.
All storytelling.
Design work. Got it.
Yeah.
All right. So, okay, but this is starting to shine a light on your back. You're still doing that. You're still storytelling. If you're anything, you're a storyteller.
Yeah.
That is really and I put that in my notes when I was everything that you do is really storytelling.
Well, look at our Instagram.
Yeah, it's incredible.
There's no cancer organizations that have that.
Just because you mentioned it, what's the address? What's the handle for your Instagram?
Oh, NAC_We Are Ocean.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah. And I've got the best part is I've got kids, little interns that are just dialed.
Oh, that's great. That's really cool. Okay.
And they're working their asses off.
Yeah. Hey, hallelujah. So we're going to keep moving. Career. So you're in Indo, working for Quick. When do you come back?
I came back for my mom's 50th birthday.
Stop in Mexico City, grab your motorcycle.
Yep.
Then you go to Palm Springs.
Yeah,
Then what?
And then I moved into this shitty apartment with my brother, up in Irvine. I don't even know what the name is.
Got
it's
it.
Crappy,
Got it. Didn't last there very long either, did you?
No.
Then you moved down to the beach?
Nope. I left again.
Where'd you go?
Let's see. Oh, I went to China.
How long were you there?
3 months.
Got it. So this is a storyline within you. You were going places. You were just checking out the world, kind of free spirit, working your way through, working for some good brands.
Yeah.
What was the drive? What was the motivation to go see the world?
I think just to experience things that I couldn't get here.
Did it work?
No.
No. Didn't experience them.
Well, I experienced a bunch of stuff, but yeah.
Got it. Got it.
But it's I still want to go.
Yeah. I think we all do.
That's why I go north all the time.
Go north, boy. Go north. So when you came back, when you re-cemented yourself here, at least maybe not cement, maybe rubber cement, what were you doing for work when you were here?
Let's see. That's a good question. I was working for my aunt and uncle. They have a production company.
Got it.
And so I was the weirdest thing ever. They're like, Jack, can you build us a website? And this is my aunt runs Lucasfilms.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, and my uncle runs Kennedy Marshall. So
okay, let's press pause for a second. Do you want to? That's kind of big. Again, Jack, I hope.
I know.
This is fun because we're connecting dots that I didn't even know were there.
Yeah.
Do you want you want to talk about you've now said who your aunt and uncle are? They're kind of big hitters, or they're involved with big hitter companies, or were? I don't know.
Yeah, so my aunt did the deal. Gosh.
We don't have to. I just, if it's interesting or relevant. If it's not, we'll keep on going.
Yeah, so my aunt did the actual deal from Disney to LucasArts, to Lucasfilms.
Oh, when they were acquired.
$300 million deal.
Little deal.
Yeah.
Got it. Is she an attorney?
No, she's a great woman.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So, and then, if you can believe this, she's going to take over Disney next year.
She's going to what?
Take over Disney next year.
Kicking out Iger, and she's taking over Disney?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then my uncle is like, just kind of like cruising, like, you know.
One of your uncles that helped raise you.
Yeah, my Uncle Frank.
Got it.
Yeah. So he did all the Back to the Futures, all the Indiana Joneses.
When you said he did them all, what role?
Producer.
Oh, he was the producer.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the Hollywood Marshall.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Jack Marshall Shimko. Now
Exactly.
I understand. Okay, I didn't know there was a connection there.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Very cool. So you're back here. Sorry, that we were just
I know.
a little interesting adder in there.
Yeah.
Well, you have creative blood in you if that's your family, right?
Yeah.
Clearly it's come out, but that is in the Marshall Shimko bloodline,
Of course.
of course. Got it. It was super interesting.
And so I came back and had a daughter.
Rad.
And that's like, we were like going back and forth. I was living in Venice and like, we were going back and forth.
How old's your daughter?
10.
What's her name?
Marley.
Oh, that's cool.
Marley May.
Marley. That's a great name.
Yeah. And so,
Oh, there it is.
yeah,
Super cool.
that's hand strip Jack.
Is
Reverse.
that? Oh, you did that yourself?
Yeah.
Got it. Like in prison. Were you in prison? Do we need to tell that story? We're not telling that story. I don't know if there is a story.
There's no
Gosh.
prison.
All right. So Marley. Very cool.
But like this one is infinity for my partner's sister who passed away at 13 from a brain aneurysm.
Gotcha.
And her name was Maddie May. So we named Marley May.
Super cool.
But this was her favorite symbol. So like the whole family has this on their wrists.
That's really neat. That's a great story.
Yeah.
That's
I don't
cool.
know.
No. That's cool stuff.
Paddling.
No, let's just not finish up the career thing, but what were you doing when you were diagnosed? Other than, like, what were you doing for work?
I was working for my aunt and uncle.
Oh, you still work? And did you continue to work through that process, or did you?
No, everything shut down. I mean, like your whole life just ends. It's so gnarly.
Okay. Well, let's keep going there. Let's go.
Okay.
Obviously, cancer is the biggest storyline for you at this point, or one of the big ones. I don't want to overstate that, but talk about that. So you're diagnosed. You start chemo 4 days after your birthday, and 4
Yeah.
days after the diagnosis. You don't get to go to Selena Cruz with Chad.
Which I still want to go to.
You still haven't. Hey, you got to surf windblown crappy surf on Saturday up in Central Coast. Let's go down that path. You want to talk about your experiences?
Yeah.
And let's keep it on the high side because it led you to some pretty amazing things. So talk about what you were going through and what you decided to do on the backside of that first bout.
Yeah. So I was really in a bad space. Like scary. And like just I felt like I was gonna die.
What year was this, Jack?
2009. And And then like I had all these doctors and like these amazing people around me, like lifting me up. And I was like, paddling was in my mind. So I was just daydreaming. Like, what can I do to give back to this community?
I think there's a video of you
Yeah.
where you are in chemo and you talk about how you are daydreaming about paddling or getting out, and
Yeah.
you weren't curling up in a ball, as I said. You were looking for you were dreaming about getting out there.
I was dreaming about giving back.
You already were at that time.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
100 doctors and nurses. Like, what am I doing? Like, I got to contribute.
So how did that manifest? What did that look like?
Well, I had to have proof of concept. So I was in chemo, and Joe Bark and I drove up.
How did you meet Joe? Joe's an icon in the paddleboard world.
Yeah, I don't even know how I met him. Like,
You were not a prone paddler at that time yet. You
No.
had paddled in Hawaii that one time,
Once.
and
Yeah.
yet it somehow stuck with you.
Yeah, I just went up to his shop and we talked story. And he's like, Jack, this is so rad.
So while you were in chemo, as you said, you were dreaming about paddling, and when you got the opportunity, you just reached out and you reached out to Joe.
Yeah, he gave me 3 18-foot prone boards. And he goes, go for it. I'm like, go for what? And I'm like, I'm going to the U.S. Championships in San Francisco,
U.S. Championships of
prone paddling.
in San Francisco.
Yep, back in the day.
I don't recall it.
Alcatraz.
I was a prone paddler pretty big time at that time, and I don't recall that. So that's interesting.
Yeah. So 2009, there's a U.S. Championships at San Francisco, Alcatraz. It's a 10-mile loop. Came in dead last. I had to have my own support boat because I was so sick.
You were still in.
I was in chemo.
You're still in chemo.
But
Amazing. What did it do for you mentally?
proof of concept.
Explain that further. Proof of what concept? That there's something there, or that the impact that it has on you or a person by doing that or getting in nature? Or was it proof of something bigger that you were planning?
It was proof that I could paddle 10 miles with Greek gods. I mean, people are flying in from Hawaii and New Zealand and all over the world. And I'm sitting here
In chemo.
and I did it. And like the coolest thing was, what was that? There's a video somewhere. But the jerseys were prison stripes.
That's awesome. Kind of following the Greg Knoll iconic shorts from the 50s.
Yeah. So I did that. I got hypothermia. My partner at the time, my daughter's mother, she went out with her friends, and I was stuck at the Holiday Inn in a wetsuit in the bathtub for 6 hours just to warm up.
What did you learn? And you came back for more and more and more.
Well, you know what that taught me? That I can go further. And so that was proof of concept. I'm like, okay, I'm going. And so like the first year of Paddle Live, and we can talk about this more,
Yeah, we
but
will. Hold on. Why don't you talk about Paddle Live. What was the concept? What did it do? What was it?
yeah, so year one was 2010. And I paddled from Santa Barbara to Santa Cruz to Anacapa to Santa Barbara Island to Catalina, and then back into the NAC.
So
So 150 miles. 10 days.
So what did you average distance per day?
I don't know. I know
I could
the
do the
next
math,
trip.
but I haven't.
The next trip I know.
Okay, hold on. So you did it twice?
Oh yeah, I did 260. I did all 8
that's
Channel Islands.
Okay, that's what it, all right.
Yeah. So it's funny. It's like Jamie Mitchell. Like, I love you, Jamie, but you're a wimp. He just did the crossings,
Yeah.
like just the channel crossings.
You
I did all
island
of it.
across. Yeah, you never got off.
Jamie, I love you.
So to frame this, one, Jamie Mitchell, 10-time Molokai to Oahu winner, 10 years in a row,
Yep.
an absolute legend. He was unstoppable, greatest of all times in prone, also one of the best big wave surfers in the world.
And a wimp.
I won't say that, but I'm glad that you can. But no, what you did was bigger. And so let me just frame this for people. So prone paddling is paddling like you're on a surfboard, on a bigger board, and you paddle on your belly and on your knees.
Yep.
And we do the most historic race is the Catalina to Manhattan Beach Pier, 32 miles. It's the end of August. For those of us that have done that a bunch of times, that was always my passion.
Well, actually,
It's only 32 miles. Hold on. But my point is, it's 32 miles and we think it's tough and we think it's a big deal.
yeah,
You did that every day for 10
days.
10 days.
Yeah, 26 a day,
While you're in remission?
back to back. Yeah.
I'm such a pussy.
So Catalina to Manhattan is a radical race, but the historic race is Molokai to Oahu.
Yeah, but Molokai to Oahu on a prone board is much younger.
Correct.
So they're
Yeah,
I always
good
equate.
point.
I always
Good
equate.
point, yeah.
Yeah. So Greg Knoll and our forefathers in surf
Yeah.
used to paddle the channel, the Catalina,
Yeah.
back in the 50s. It's the most iconic. It doesn't mean it's like the world championship is considered the Molokai to Oahu. They're
Right.
totally different. One's flat water, one's downwind and very challenging. They're both hard. But I equated, if you wanted to equate these two sports, it'd be the equivalent in skiing from slalom to moguls. Same sport, but very different application. Prone in flat water and prone in downwind. And then if you did one of the bad years, like Catalina 2023 was horrendous, brutal, yucky, nothing good about it. And it's a hard sport at the best of times. And to do what you did, you probably got every different condition known to man. You're in very sharky waters. You're by yourself.
Well, I had to turn back the first day.
I didn't know this.
I only
So
made
totally-
it 5 miles.
Okay, so let's start.
Yeah.
What was the genesis? Like, what motivated you to come up with this concept? Where did the concept come from, A? What made you think, I want to go do this? And then what was the cause? So one, how did you come up with it and why?
Like I said, daydreaming in chemo. in
Yeah,
the
but there's
ward.
daydreaming of like sitting on a beach with a cocktail and a pretty girl. There's daydreaming of going for a surf. You daydreamed of doing something incredibly hard. You're like David Goggins before David Goggins.
Okay.
What was in your head that made you go, I want to go friggin' push it?
Well, I'll tell you right now. So, I was with this kid. He was my same age. And we had the same cancer. And my family was able to pay the $5,000 for the shot for Neulasta. And his insurance didn't cover it. And he died.
Wow.
And he was my partner. Like, we were in the 2 chairs together. And he died. And I was like, I'm so fortunate to be able to get this drug that kept me alive. And he passed. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to do something about this.
Why go small if you can go huge? So you went huge.
I mean, the world is so messed up. The fact that he couldn't get the drug that I got.
Yeah.
It's not fair.
No. And there's we could go down all kind of rabbit holes with examples like that.
Yeah. So that's that.
But you used that motivation to go do something for yourself or for others?
For others.
What was the goal?
Well, it's the funniest thing. Like, everyone's like, Jack, what are you doing? I'm like, all I do is look out for other people. Like, that's my whole life. And I love that. But unfortunately, like, I don't look after myself sometimes. And that's kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
But, I mean, case in point, you know, my partner and my daughter, it's just like, you know, Ashley's just like, why don't you look after Marley like you look after these people? And I'm like, well, I do. You just don't see it.
I can imagine juggling or navigating what you navigate a few times now.
Yeah.
So just to maybe put a pin on it, you do 2 different iterations of the paddle. Hold on, let me show you something real quick. Believe it or not, this hangs in my closet.
Oh my goodness. How'd you get that?
I don't know, you gave it to me. I was going to try to wear it.
Paddling together.
Yeah, man.
Paddling together to better the world. Yeah. Hurley.
This was you.
Yeah.
This is how I learned about you. I didn't know you,
Oh my goodness.
but I knew what you did.
I can't believe you have that.
I've had it
That's
all
the
along.
script. I drew that.
I'm telling you. Listen, I love...
It's not that different from this.
Listen, I love to clear my closet.
Yeah.
I do not like keeping stuff I don't ever wear.
Yeah.
I've kept this whole time.
It's so sick.
Not like I knew we were coming here together. Like,
Yeah.
this is just one of those inspirational messages that lives in my closet that people do badass shit for good
Right.
causes.
And it's the gray tone. That's 75% gray.
Now we're nerding out again
Yeah.
on the gray tone. But it has left a mark, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to be able to get in here with you.
That is so cool. I
Isn't that
haven't
cool?
seen that for so long.
You're welcome to keep that. If so,
No,
I might
I've
fight you
got
over.
many of them.
Okay. Well, listen, let's keep this thing going.
Okay.
But that was you. So you did it twice. Why?
The first time was not long enough.
I love that. You felt good enough after the first one, which was how many miles total?
150. And
Over 8 days?
over 10 days.
Over 10 days.
Yeah. And then we raised like 125K.
And year 2, the goal was 260 miles.
Yeah, year 2 was $1 million.
And did you hit it?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
But
And I'm sorry.
so this is pre-Lance drama.
Okay, Lance Armstrong drama. So Lance was still in good graces at the time.
Yeah. Well, everyone thought he was.
Well, he was still liked at the time and
Yeah. I mean, I had
beloved
the
at the
band
time.
on and
Yeah,
everything.
I
you
think
know?
we all did.
And so, yeah, I raised over $1 million, and like, they couldn't tell me where the money was going.
Oh, this was through the Lance
Organization,
The
yeah,
Lance
through
Armstrong.
Livestrong.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
And so I was like, guys, I have people like calling me going, where is our money going?
Did you ever find out?
No.
Got
A
it.
lot of overhead.
Yeah, gotcha.
So that's why I created Weir Ocean.
Okay.
But what happened was I won this like award. It's called Surfer Pole Agent of Change. And
Surfer Pole Awards are once a year for
Yep.
the whole entire surf industry. Generally, surfers are the ones that are
correct.
designated or are the recipients of this.
Yep.
Agent of Change in the surf industry as a whole is what you
Yeah. So
rewarded with or
Yeah.
you won.
So
amazing.
Surfer gave me $20K, and then I started Weir Ocean.
What year did you start We Are Ocean?
2012.
So we're year 11. It's
Yeah.
really picking up speed. Was it small? Why don't you share the mission and the mantra of We Are Ocean?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty simple. It's my goal is to take teen and young adults on radical ocean-based adventures and support them through camps and diving and fishing and snorkeling and just being out there.
Why?
Why?
Yeah, why?
Because where else are they?
I don't know.
They're in the chemo ward. Get them out of there.
What happens when you get them out of there into adventure situations like this?
We have this saying, it's like a unspoken language of cancer. So like people like are like, oh, you got ABVD, you got that biopsy, you got that treatment, you got that. Like everybody knows.
The microcosm of cancer patients and
Yeah.
battlers.
So taking people out of the cancer ward and putting them into the water is extremely powerful. And what's even more powerful is seeing how they connect with one another, because they don't even care about the adventure. That's just us. That's Billy and I. Like, we are the adventure hounds, right? But all they want to do is connect with somebody that's gone through something similar.
Camaraderie, openness,
Yeah.
commonality.
And like, I don't want to brag, but we're doing a pretty good job.
What's the outcome? What happens after are these week-long camps?
Yeah, week-long camps.
So what happens during and after? What do you see, knowing that, again, these are people like you that are going through this? What do you see?
These people are terrified. I have to talk to them for 3 months prior to camp, holding their hand. Like going, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it. Just get on the flight. And they're like talking like, oh, what about TSA? I'm like, TSA? There's a hurricane. What are you talking about, TSA? And once we get them out on the island in Emerald Bay on the west tip of Catalina, they change. And you know what happens after? They're different. And they're stronger. They feel better. And they keep adventuring. Like even like simple stuff, like just going for a beach walk that they never did before.
How much of that is physical versus mental?
It's all mental.
What's the driver of that mental change or impact of being in nature and being in the water and doing an adventure and being with peers?
Well, it's the same thing like with Paddle Live. I just put my head down and paddled.
Yeah, but you were a solitary beast on that.
No, I was weak.
Mhm.
Yeah, I wasn't strong.
Arguable.
I put my head down and I paddled. That's it. I was on that freaking chin strap like this.
Hey, listen, I know a whole lot of people that have been in incredible shape, trained up to no end, ready to go, and wouldn't have accomplished that. So
Yeah.
you can call yourself whatever, but the mental fortitude and the ability and desire and the grit to go it says a lot about you.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. Probably the most scariest part of my life ever was crossing from Santa Barbara Island to San Nick. So it's 90 miles out.
These are all islands that people don't go to, and they certainly don't swim or paddle when they're there.
So I got 5 miles out off of San Nick and I had to stop. And I was like, I'm done. And so like, this is when I had like Chris Welch with the super catamaran, the 60,
Oh, the big one that was
120 feet long.
Yeah.
He's passed, unfortunately. So we get to San Clemente Island from San Nick, downwind, beautiful paddle. It's just like gorgeous. But going across sucked because it was like across your bow. So I didn't make it. I had to stop 5 miles short. So we're at San Clemente at the Air Force Base. And I'm like, we cooked dinner. And I'm like, guys, we've got this amazing catamaran. Let's go back to San Nick.
Finish what you started.
So motor through the night, upwind, get back in the water at dawn, finish the 5 miles, get back on the boat, and I'm like, I'm done. Perfect. Made it.
I love that about you. Just saying. And we got to say, and maybe I'm going to take this straight from, we were talking about We Are Ocean, what it provides, your work in the channel on these. What's the power of the channel or channels? There's a lot of us. I mean, I had Danny Nichols here. We just did the, there's a lot. Let me just touch on that real quick and we'll get back. There's this amazing cross-pollination of people.
Yeah.
You know Danny Nichols, who was in that chair just a few weeks ago. Danny with Open Water. We just did the crossing a couple weeks ago. You came over. We're gonna talk about this real quick. Because it's another Jack Shimko moment. You were determined to go over there. The Open Water organization supports first responders, veterans, active duty, and it's all focused on...
And they take care of me.
Talk about that.
So...
Talk about this. You were determined to go over there to say some words to the group of 50 people from around the country that came over to paddle from Catalina to Huntington Beach Pier, 33 miles, and you were determined to go talk to them.
Right, because they've saved my life multiple times.
You were super sick.
Oh, barfing.
Yeah. Tell us about, so you go over and do a beautiful speech, and it was short, which I wasn't expecting. From you, I was expecting long, but you were hurting.
Yeah.
We all knew it. We were all a little bit worried about you, and you were really sick afterward. It was a long boat ride back.
Yeah, barfing the whole way back.
Yeah. And then the next couple of days, where did you spend your time, the majority of your time?
The ER.
Yeah. And yet you were determined to go over there in spite of all that and say these words to these folks. Why?
Because Danny and what he does and the people that came, like the people that are a part of this, these are the people that have like taken care of me. And people don't understand it. Like, they don't understand first responders.
Yeah.
And like, these people have saved my life.
Well, the beauty is...
Over and over and over again.
The beauty is, or the reality is, they've saved all of our lives over and over. They're the ones on the wall. They're the ones there coming in the middle of the night. Danny was sitting right here, and he's like, here's the difference. If these are police officers or firemen right here and something happens right there, they're going that way while we go that way.
I know.
That's the distinction. But it was really powerful that you were determined, in spite of what you were going through, to come over there, and you paid for it for a few days.
Well, and you know, Billy, like, he didn't want to be a part of it. And so, like, he came just to support me to be there.
Yeah, because there's nobody better in that channel than Billy. So he was there to make sure you made it back in one piece.
Yeah. And like,
hallelujah.
Listen, I was like, oh, I'm going to stay.
Oh, I know. But we all knew otherwise.
Yeah.
There was a whole plan B happening behind your back just to make sure that you made it home safely.
I mean, I was barfing in.
Yeah.
It was bad.
So let's talk about, so you were determined, I mean, we're starting to shine a light on Jack Shimko's colors of taking care of others and focusing on others through the Paddle to Live, We Are Ocean. Tell me some stats. How many people, young people, are diagnosed with cancer every year?
82,000.
It's in the U.S. alone.
Yeah.
It's an unbelievable number. 82,000 young people are diagnosed. And most of them go through it in a probably a very different way than you did, or in a very different way than these people that have been given the opportunity to be a part of We Are Ocean and your adventure camps. Is that right?
I mean, people go through it and they're just destroyed.
What would if you had a magic wand, or if I had a magic wand and I said everybody going through it gets an opportunity to go to We Are Ocean and do an adventure camp while they're in, what would that do to that population of people?
I think it would help them. Like, honestly, like, there's these, like, I'm not going to get into it, but there are these, like, hospital type programs, and they're sterile. They're like in a waiting room. I'm like, we're doing the same stuff. We're just around a bonfire, and we're paddling and sailing and fishing and diving and snorkeling. It's like, it's so simple. I don't know the term, like these hospitals have this term, like, I don't know what it's called. But they're not doing it. It's weak.
If I had another magic wand and you had infinite resources to do it, what would We Are Ocean look like?
It's a really good question, because like Billy and I are working really hard right now to make We Are Ocean sustainable forever.
What would it take to do that? Is it a number? Is it a team?
Billy says up $1 million to just get it started, and then like that money will grow, right?
Yeah.
Because like, let's be honest, I'm not going to be around for much longer.
I'm not going there with you, my friend.
Yeah.
But we will talk about what the legacy of We Are Ocean can be. I know Billy and a lot of people are passionate about coming up with a way to keep it going and growing.
Yeah.
It takes a vision, and you've been the visionary with this, with all the things. And it's really incredible what you've done in spite of what you've been dealing with, in spite of what you're dealing with as we speak. So I give you incredible credit, and I have since the day I heard your story the first time with relation to how to live. It's been really cool to watch, because you do such a wonderful job with all the media.
Right.
The videos of We Are Ocean camps and the people and the testimonials and just the energy and what they're doing. How can that not, like, compare that to, as you said, a sterile hospital environment, round table? Like, it's unbelievable. And I know that it's got to be a powerful differentiator for those folks.
Well, I hate asking. I would rather show.
You hate
action.
asking for what?
For anything. I'd rather just like show people what we're doing.
To inspire them to give? Is that the point?
Yeah.
You know, I had a conversation with Jennifer Friend with Project Hope Alliance, who was here recently, and another wonderful person doing great good. And one of the conversations we had was about fundraising, because nonprofits require elaborate fundraising to survive, and a lot of people just don't like it. And it becomes an art and a science, but nonprofits don't survive very long without giving.
I know.
And so,
I mean, my whole goal is like, can I please stop fundraising? And can I just like focus on the program?
yeah, somebody has to be doing it.
Yeah. So we're working on that. Billy's got a great idea, like with this legacy fund. It's going to be called NAC Legends.
Yeah. Hallelujah.
Yeah. So I'm like at the very bottom, but
I beg to differ.
Yeah.
For the record.
So, and like, this is killer. Like, you know, like I used to think like I had competitors, right?
In what way?
Just like I used to think like they're like, you know, Makapo was a competitor.
So Makapo is the blind paddling organization,
Yeah.
also part of Newport Aquatic Center.
Yeah, or open water. And then like I'm like, guess what? You know what we're doing in April? We have 3 6-man canoes. Weir Ocean, Makapo, and open water going across the channel together.
There's a lot of symbiosis or symbiotic opportunities because there are different groups being served for different reasons,
Right.
but in the same way because of the power of the ocean and the paddle of the channel. Let me go back to that question. Why do you think paddling that channel paddling the channel, it's different from what Weir Ocean does where you're doing camps. But,
Right.
you know, I ran an organization for a long time called Ocean of Hope. It was all about
Out of Manhattan, right?
Yep, it was all tied primarily to the
Mike
paddling
Roberts?
class. Nope, Mike Rogers.
I'm sorry,
Mike
Mike,
Rogers
yeah.
was paddle.
10.
His fundraised for Hogue. Paddle for a Cure.
Paddle for a Cure.
Mike Rogers, we know very well. See him all the time,
Yeah.
still paddling. He's a legend here.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different fundraising. Mike was one of the first. Ocean of Hope was shortly thereafter, and we did it for many, many years. And there's many more. And now, you know, we've got Open Water, we've got the Ben Carlson Foundation, and the Ben Did Go. There's tons of
I mean, Spencer,
Spencer
it's
Purdy, who started that when Ben Carlson passed away. We just did that about 8 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But there's tons of organizations and people paddling that channel
Yeah.
for a cause. But why that channel? What makes that channel? I can give you my 2 cents, but why is it so powerful? What is it about paddling that channel or a channel that is so significant for so many people?
I mean, I think, like, first of all, it's like a challenge. Like, that's number one. Like, you got to get across. You can't just sit in there, right?
Yeah.
You got to cross.
You have to paddle across.
Yeah, and then, like, the other power is just like, there's something about it, like just not being able to see to the other side, you know? And it's just so beautiful. Like, you're on a paddleboard going across an open ocean. It's so radical. And people just don't get it.
Feel very small out there.
Yeah.
And getting across, in my opinion, it's just one of these accomplishments that, you know, I always say to the young guns that, you know, part of the Ben or whatever that have never crossed it before, or even the folks at Open Water, you know, we've grown up, for those of us that have grown up here, looking across that body of water at that island on days like today when it's clear and offshore and beautiful. Right. And once you paddle that, you will never look at that channel or that island again.
It's a very
You
good.
will never, and it is such a big accomplishment. And I was talking to Chiron Stewart, whose son,
Love him.
Mason, did it this year. They did it together as part of the Ben. And I said, Chiron, how's Mason? He's like, man, he grew up so much doing that. He doesn't even know the impact that has had on him. So I think the impact's the same when you're talking about getting the Makapo blind paddlers, the open water first responders and military.
And eventually, Ben, we could connect it all.
There's a lot of cross-pollination here in town from a sport that almost didn't exist. When you did your crossings,
it was a no man's land.
It was a no man's land, and there was a few of us that used to paddle prone here, and typically people would go, "Are you guys okay? Did you lose your paddles?" Like nobody knew what it was. Now with the Ben Carlson Foundation, with all these organizations crossing, it's gotten really big and it's wonderful. But it's such an accomplishment-driven endeavor.
Yeah.
And I think it just resonates. with
It's-
people that have completed it.
It's funny, like Mikey Roberts, he goes like, you started this. And like now, like, look at, there's 100 prone boards in Newport.
All the time.
I mean, there's 60 barks and there's 100 vessels.
We used to paddle around. If I saw somebody on a prone board, I'd paddle up to them and make friends because there were so few of us. And now I paddle up to them and they go, "What's up, dude? Old man? What do you?"
Yeah, I
It's
know.
not the same. So, listen, we've talked about
A lot.
a lot, and I really love it. I do want to hit on a couple things.
Okay.
I want to give you first an incredible amount of praise for what you've done and how you've done it and why you've done it and what you've been dealing with while you've done it.
I appreciate that.
The fact that you're doing all this for others while you're battling yourself is really powerful, and I don't think many people would have the gumption and the grit and the tenacity to keep grinding through it when you feel like shit and you're still showing up for everybody else.
I appreciate
What are
that.
you doing just for context, what are you doing every Friday right now?
Every other Friday.
Every other
I'm
Friday.
doing tri-day. Like I'm doing treatment.
What is it?
So it's called a whole blood transfusion. So it's platelets, white, red, and plasma.
And you're
9
basically doing your whole
9 hours.
9 hours of,
And then I get a Neulasta shot. And then I get a EPO, which is what Lance used. It fucking sucks.
yeah.
Excuse my language, but it really is. It's awful. And then I was on this experimental drug called CG806, and it completely destroyed my liver. So now I'm dealing with liver disease.
You have drugs fighting, you have drugs on top of drugs on top of drugs, right?
Yeah, so I'm on this drug, which is super nasty. That's what makes me throw up all the time. It's just awful.
Listen, the fact that you're doing what you're doing for others while dealing with all of that, again, you were just on the island,
Yeah.
sick as a dog, and you powered through.
Yep.
Most people wouldn't.
Didn't really power through, but
You
yeah,
did it.
I made
You
it.
spoke to everybody and you powered. You spoke for 5 minutes. You did 60 miles of boat crossings for the not the opportunity, for the desire to speak to that group. Dude, that's a powerful.
Because of Danny and Kane.
Well, I
And
would say
Trevor.
for sure. But you did it.
Yeah.
And when you talk about We Are Ocean, you fire up.
I do.
Yeah. This is a
makes-
passion, pride, desire to help others, which
I-
is super powerful.
I know, and Billy's like, if we don't figure it out, it's done. And I'm like, I'm already like 7 steps ahead. Like I already got another organization that's ready to put us under the wing. Like if it doesn't work with NAC, I think it will, but if it doesn't, I already got another plan. Like I will keep going. I will
Use it.
fight for the rest of my life to keep this alive. And that's it. Simple as that.
Well, my friend, I think I had other questions, but I don't think there's a better way to end it than that. Where can people find out more?
Our Instagram, which is like the easiest way, which is just at NAC_We Are Ocean.
And certainly, all you need to do is Google Jack Shimko, and you're all over the place, and all your cool stories and all your
Yeah.
YouTube stuff is really powerful and inspiring. It gives a lot more color on the stuff we've talked about here.
Yeah, and I'll start doing a better job like sharing that stuff. Because like I've just kind of like, I've been so focused on fundraising. it's like I don't actually get to share the stories, and like that is where my heart is. Like
Well,
I am a storyteller.
the stories will drive the fundraising, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's what it does is what will speak to people.
Yeah.
Like you've spoken to me, and now you've spoken to other folks. And
Yeah.
Jack, your story is unbelievable. I'm sad that it's going the way you think that it's going. But what you've done and what you're doing and how you've done it is incredible, and I'm incredibly proud of you and grateful for what you've done. I give you wild credit for persevering and powering through with determination for others and making a real difference, because that's exactly what you're doing.
Well, thank you for that. I mean, honestly, nobody knows this, but Weir Ocean helps me as well. And me helping others helps me. And people don't get it.
One of my favorites, and we'll end with this, the quote from Tony Robbins, and I'm sure it's probably stoicism, but when you focus on others, you do not suffer.
Yep.
It's probably not exactly all the way right, but when you focus on others and you do good things for others,
You don't suffer as much.
That's probably the piece we need to add. Jack Marshall Shimko, I love you, brother. Thank you for being here.
I love you
Fight
too.
the fucking good fight, my friend.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for all you do.